Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
My anus is bleeding.
He can't sit down.
They call them dumps, big massive dumps.
Got a flame coming out of his butthole.
Beta male.
Get in a long tube with a bunch of demons.
Don't you ever do that. Don't you ever do that. I tell you, don't do it.
Oops.
We're under attack. It is an alien force, not of this world. It's not human intelligence.
Bullshit.
Trust me, I'm like a smart person.
Bullshit.
It's not a salami sandwich.
Disappointed!
Repeat the line.
Disappointed!
How you like that, boy?
No.
Give me a break.
Stop it.
Fired.
Fired! Fired!
Bitch, move it along.
Now witness the firepower of this fully armed and operational battle station.
This election is about the people.
Oh yeah.
Sexual anarchy. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. We got a good one for you today. It's Wednesday. Okay, it's Wednesday, but we got a good show. Midweek, fun times, more details, of course, on the dinner with Nazis. Always fun, including how Fox News covered it, or should I say didn't cover it, chose not to. We also have Groomer outing themselves. You're not going to be surprised that it's a QAnon leader. We found the Groomer. We keep finding the Groomers. And they're nowhere where QAnon says they're supposed to be. In fact, the Groomers are in their house. So we've got a great example of that. As usual, we're going to check and see what Dr. Oz is up to, or just Oz in this case, after his defeat by John Fetterman. And then Twitter, silencing progressives and anti-fascists. So, that whole free speech thing, not exactly working out, are they? So, with that said, why don't we dive into an update here about the neo-Nazis dining with Trump, and you know what? Let's do it. Before I get into it, though, I just want to ask you, please like and share the stream. With that said, let's go. Okay. NBC News is out with a new report that is actually kind of weirdly, slightly defensive of Donald Trump's dinner with the neo-Nazi Nick Fuentes and Kanye West, was deeply anti-Semitic. So now NBC News reporter Mark Caputo actually writes that Donald Trump was punked. Oh, that's an interesting thing to say. Punked into meeting with with Mr. Fuentes. Okay. So now he writes that Trump may have been walking into a trap in Mar-a-Lago's gilded halls. One that leveraged his own penchant for spectacle and showmanship against him. Are you saying that Trump was tricked into meeting with a white supremacist? Mark, no, there was no trick. Okay, but let me go on. Okay, now NBC News writes. They go into quote a longtime Trump advisor who claimed that Fuentes' presence was part of a headline-grabbing setup. We didn't want to meet with the white supremacist. No, it was a setup. Really? Don't you have Secret Service protection? Don't you have people at Mar-a-Lago that, you know, are supposed to vet people coming in. You want us to believe that Kanye brought in a bunch of people, an entourage, if you will, and nobody there was like, oh, whoa, hold on, that person was not invited. Who is this rando? Who is this guy? No, we're not going to let you in. Come on, he knew. He knew. Of course he knew. Trump had, yes, they're saying, oh, no, Trump had no idea who Nick Fuentes was. In fact, here you have, you know, Trump advisors that are coming out and doing damage control. Their hair is on fire. Like, no, we had no idea who Nick Fuentes was. No idea. Trump going on Truth Social. I have no idea who that person was. But the advisor also said, the master troll got trolled. Kanye punked Trump. Now, that's hard to believe. Hard to believe. Not that Donald Trump is some master chess player. Okay? Not that Ye even understands how to play chess or what chess is. Okay? I don't think Ye understands a lot at this point. Not a smart person. Now, other advisors insisted the former president was essentially tricked by the rapper and his guests. Suspicion backed up by Milo Yiannopoulos. Yiannopoulos, who had gotten drummed out of the right wing for some time for saying that you can have a 13-year-old boy can have consensual sex with an adult male. I was totally fine with that. That's who Milo Yiannopoulos is. What? I don't understand how the Republican Party that has groomers in their midst seems to allow these groomers to come back. And there's many more. There, Midas Touch put out a great video. It's like a 5-minute long compilation of all the Republicans caught grooming and doing pedophilia. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, that said, Yiannopoulos talked to NBC News and claimed that he was the architect of the plan to have Fuentes travel with Ye in hopes of slipping him into the dinner with Trump. Now, I think this gives a lot of cover to Donald Trump. The intent, according to Yiannopoulos, was for Fuentes to give Trump an unvarnished view of how a portion of his base views his candidacy. Quote, I wanted to show Trump the kind of talent that he's missing out on by allowing his terrible handlers to dictate who he can and can't hang out with. Funny story. Now you have Mar-a-Lago. I know for years I was saying White House. Now I'm going to Mar-a-Lago. Anyway, now there's a vetting procedure, they say, to get into Mar-a-Lago. Why wasn't that there before? Like before, remember, this is a place where you had stolen documents from the government, where any rando could just walk in, and they had no vetting procedure whatsoever, as they obviously would allow, in their words, their defense, a white nationalist, white supremacist neo-Nazi to just randomly come in, accompanied by other people that were not explicitly invited at first. There's a lot of holes in this. A ton of holes in their story. Okay. That said, speaking of talent, right? Let's go back to that statement from Yiannopoulos. Oh, I wanted to show the kind of talent Trump is missing out on. I'd call Nick Fuentes a lot of things. Talented is not one of them. Who Nick Fuentes is, for those of you, again, not familiar, because I know like a lot of people hadn't previously heard of him before, and now there's like a crash course on who this guy is. Well, I've been tracking Fuentes for a while, okay? And one of the things that he is a cult leader for far-right incels. But another thing is, he would walk around, according to a story from someone who used to live with him, a former cult member. Remember, a former member of the Groypers. Sounds a lot like gropers, right? Well, apparently they can't grope themselves, because Nick Fuentes would walk around with a black light to see if any of his all-male roommates had masturbated or not. I'm not kidding. Nick Fuentes is a cum detective. He's going around like making sure you don't come. That's insane. He says you will absolutely have no
Sexual anarchy.
They're not allowed here, okay? Because I'm going to make sure to walk around with my black light to see if there's any state. That's gross. Gross, but he's the cum detective. He should forever be known as a cum detective. But that's Nick Fuentes. That's who he is. You want to call that guy talented? Not at all. There must be no talent on the right. If that's the best guy that the neo-Nazis can bring out, talent. But Yiannopoulos continues, saying that he arranged the dinner just to make Trump's life miserable because news of the dinner would leak and Trump would mishandle it. Which, by the way, yeah, that's exactly what happened. The leak did come out, and Donald Trump did mishandle it. But that's a given. Has Donald Trump never mishandled anything? Of course he has. He's mishandled everything, or never not mishandled anything, I should say. Now, Fuentes echoed this. This is in the NBC piece. Later on, there's another piece. But first he said, I hate to say it, but the chickens are coming home to roost when it comes to Trump. You know, this is the frustration with his base and with his true loyalists. So now, what's true and what isn't? You don't know. Like the sources here, all of the sources here, you can't trust them at all. You can't trust the Trump advisors. Not really. You can't trust Fuentes and Milo Yiannopoulos. Who do you trust? Now, here's Trump's reaction to this. And I think maybe you can read into a little bit of that. Trump fumed afterwards that Ye had betrayed him by ambushing him. He tried to F me. He's crazy. He can't beat me. Remember, what we're talking about is a potential Ye 2024 run. Donald Trump has already declared that he is running for president for the Republican nomination, in 2024. Trump said, according to a confidant, who then relayed the conversation to NBC News in the condition of anonymity to discuss private conversations, Trump was totally blindsided. It was a setup. But here's the thing. It doesn't make any sense. Trump hasn't denounced Fuentes' beliefs. In fact, he barely talked about Nick Fuentes other than to say, I didn't know the guy. He must have been a coffee boy. I don't know. I liked him, though. The things that he talked about were great. I agree with him. He gets me. He gets me. But at the same time, didn't know who he was. His main beef was Kanye coming in and saying, by the way, Trump, you should be my VP. And at that point, he was screamed at. So the real problem for Trump wasn't the neo-Nazism. No, it was that other thing. The majority of statements Trump made about the dinner, again, were this. Let me give you some examples. Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, was asking me for advice concerning some of his difficulties, in particular having to do with his business. We also discussed, to a lesser extent, politics, where I told him he should have definitely not run for president. And any voters you may have should vote for Trump. Anyway, we got along great. We got along great. There was barely any anti-Semitism. Really? I mean, there wasn't any anti-Semitism. There was none. Yeah, no, he expressed no anti-Semitism and appreciated all the nice things he said about me on Tucker Carlson. Why wouldn't I agree to meet? Also, don't know Nick Fuentes. So, another post, and this is fun. So I help a seriously troubled man who just happens to be black. Yay, Kanye West, who has been decimated in his business and virtually everything else, and who has always been good to me by allowing his requested meeting for a meeting at Mar-a-Lago alone so that I can give him my very much needed advice. He shows up with 3 people, 2 of which I didn't know. The other, a political person who I haven't seen in years. I told him don't run for office. Total waste of time. Can't win. Fake news went crazy. Again, no denouncement of Nick Fuentes or any of his neo-Nazi beliefs. And look, the other thing is, if Trump was paying attention to the news, which we know he does, didn't he know that Kanye West had been making all sorts of horrible anti-Semitic remarks for some time now? Again, he didn't care. He didn't care all about that. He didn't care all about Fuentes. Now, if seeing how Fuentes is concerned, by the way, this dinner is literally the best thing to have ever happened to him. Other than the Tim Pool interview, by the way. Now everyone talks about him. He's not in the fringes anymore, where he used to be. He's being shown on late night talk shows. And he didn't have to do a damn thing, but just go along with yay. Now, Fuentes pushed back on this report, posting this on Telegram. My intention was not to hurt Trump by attending the dinner. That is fake news. I love Donald Trump. He also quoted from Caputo's article and added, this is just not true at all. So what's really going on? Who's telling the truth? Well, let's look at the facts. For one, Kanye is deeply troubled. He got serious issues, including mental issues. And let me just note, mental issues do not make a person racist or anti-Semitic. So, that's not what I'm saying. You know, it's just like you can't become racist from taking too much Ambien. Hello, Roseanne Barr. Having bipolar does not make you racist or anti-Semitic. There are other deeper issues. But along with his documented mental issues, Kanye has other things. Serious problems, which, by the way, might be exacerbated by some of those mental issues. In fact, look, he has said on Tim Pool's podcast or show, whatever, that he thinks the Jews are trying to throw him in prison and even assassinate him. In that same segment, Kanye also admits that he wasn't paying his taxes. Can you not put two and two together? Let's say you don't pay your taxes, and then your accountant says, ooh, you might be in trouble for not paying your taxes. Now, a normal person would be like, oh, shit, I guess I need to pay my taxes. But Kanye is like, what if it's the Jews? My accountant, Jewish. I knew it, nailed it, got it. They're after me. No, you didn't pay your taxes, you idiot. You idiot. But again, he says these insane things. And of course, when you start talking about anti-Semitic stuff, you catch the attention of other anti-Semites. It's like the bat signal. Okay? He just sent up a gigantic signal to the other, anti-Semites in the far right who crawl out from under their rocks, out of their little holes, and go, we got someone that can help us. They're not in it to help Kanye. They're in it to help themselves. Again, Kanye is an African-American, and he's also an idiot. And so he is very, very easily duped because he's one of the dumbest people alive. Honestly. Why do you think you have a white, supremacist and an anti-Semite working with Kanye on his presidential campaign? They're doing it for their own benefit. Fuentes, again, he's getting all sorts of attention, getting paid. Milo Yiannopoulos is getting back into the far right's good graces. It's never been a better time for either of those two people. Those two terrible people, by the way. Now, I think that NBC should have focused a little bit more on that. I'm just saying. And not like falling for the whole, Trump, tricked. That's what they're telling me in Trump world. They're saying, of course they're saying that Donald Trump was tricked. Because they're trying to defend him because everyone knows that it was a horrible idea. Now, that said, Yiannopoulos stood behind Caputo's story, sharing a link to it and writing, everyone, me included, loves Trump and wants 2016 Trump back, that still won't be enough to be an authentically Christian Yay 24, but at least it would make the journey more interesting. So like I said, what's going on here is, no, Trump wasn't exactly punked. Not in the way that Caputo describes it. He knew exactly who he was dealing with, who he was inviting to dinner, and what they believe in. He had no problems with Fuentes, no problems with the anti-Semitism. Again, the only issue was there is that Ye is a possible contender. And really, not really, because he's going to get like 12 votes. Kanye is just a vehicle for these two terrible people to push themselves more into the mainstream. And it's working. Sadly. Okay. Moving on. The infamous dinner between Trump, Kanye West, and neo-Nazi Nick Fuentes has been pretty big news. We talked about it a lot in this show. And it's been mentioned a lot by cable news outlets as of late, progressive outlets, of course. In fact, Fuentes' name has come up tons of times on CNN and MSNBC. Now, according to a G-Delt analysis of Internet Archive closed captioning data, he actually came up about 490 times for the past week on just CNN and MSNBC. Again, huge story. I mean, the former president of the United States meeting with a neo-Nazi and avowed anti-Semites. Wow, big news. But if you've been watching Fox News, well, then you probably know nothing about it because they barely even covered it. On Fox, Nick Fuentes has been mentioned roughly 9 times. So there was a couple of data graphs here. Let me show you the first one. So that just shows you the breakdown, how many times they've been mentioned on CNN, MSNBC, and that sad little graph in the middle. That is Fox News. Yeah. Not very much. Fuentes, his name has been mentioned in 39 of the 109 hours since November 25th on CNN News on Tuesday, and 52 of those hours on MSNBC. Usually he's mentioned more than once. On Fox, he's been mentioned in 4 hours. Okay. So, not very much. Not very much at all. Not on Fox. Now, you might think, okay, they could still talk about the story and not mention Fuentes as much because the story, to them, they could say it's more about Kanye. Okay, well, is that the case? Well, no, not really. Turns out Fox News doesn't really mention Kanye either. Which is funny because they used to do glowing news reports of Kanye when he started supporting Donald Trump. Weird. But anyway, so now, on average, I'll show you the next chart here. On average, CNN and MSNBC are mentioning Ye 6 and 7 times as often as Fox News each hour, respectively. On Monday evening, this is prime time now. So here's a graph on that. Prime time. Discussions of Fuentes were common on primetime cable news shows, except once again on Fox News. Now, it's better because once they do actually cover it, here's the kind of coverage they give it.
And you know what? I just got to say this. This is why America hates the national media. 3 questions about Donald Trump meeting with Ye and whoever that white,
Well, they want clicks on their social media. That's why
that is so irresponsible. Before they talked about the rail strike, before they talked about the border, before they did all this, they got to talk about Donald Trump. This is why we hate the national media.
That was Jason Chaffetz talking with Harris Faulkner, and he was pretty mad that reporters were daring to, ask Kevin McCarthy about Trump's meeting with a neo-Nazi. They by the way, he couldn't even choke out the words white supremacist. Oh, the white, no, put a cap on that. No, not going to admit it. Not going to say a goddamn thing. White, no, we're not going to. Anyway, why is he not at the border? Why is Biden not at the border? Because that's what the whole thing was about. So, yeah, that's why America hates the national media. No, this is why I hate Fox News. I think it's actually a pretty big deal. I think it's pretty newsworthy when the former president meets with neo-Nazis and anti-Semites, including one that is one of the biggest artists in the country who happens to be anti-Semitic. And by the way, when the president does not denounce those beliefs. Remember, in none of the statements that Trump had put out did he say anything about, I denounce neo-Nazis and white nationalism, and I do not agree with Kanye's, rampant anti-Semitism, and I don't agree with white supremacy. Instead, he's like, I didn't know Nick Fuentes, but he was very nice to me. Kanye was very nice to me, and I treated him very, very well. Fake news. But it's the fake news media that is against me. Really? Again, who Fuentes is a neo-Nazi. He wants an authoritarian religious state headed up by a dictator. Those are his own words summarized. And he's working with Kanye in order to, I believe, push the right wing further to the right. Which is funny because that insider strategy is a lot what progressives were trying to do with the Democratic Party. To go into the party and push them to the left. Now, Fuentes has actually been trying to do this with the Republican Party. The difference is, of course, Republicans were already massively far right, but not enough, not fascist enough for Nick Fuentes. Now, the Democratic Party has always been center right since Bill Clinton on economic issues, and so they could use a push to the left. Whereas the Republican Party, they're already proto-fascist. They're nearly there. And Fuentes wants them to become full fascist, religious, authoritarian, and guess who wants to be that authoritarian? Donald Trump, which is why he tried to, remain as president on January 6th. By not having Pence certify the election results. I think that's rather important, don't you? But Fox News, obviously, they don't think it's important. And the big question, of course, is why? Maybe they don't want to piss off their viewers, who are apparently pro-authoritarian, or at least enough for Fox News to believe that they're pro-authoritarian. Or maybe they just want to distract them with other things. Who knows? There's plenty of possibilities as to why. But it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, for whatever reason, they've effectively buried the story when it comes to their viewership. And once again, they're not telling their own viewers what's really going on. And that's sad. And so most Republicans are not going to know that Trump had met with and is totally fine with anti-Semites and neo-Nazis. I'm sure there has to be some Republican voters out there that are not cool with that don't think anti-Semites and neo-Nazis are good. But they'll never know. They'll never know what Trump had actually done because their media won't show it to them. What is Fox News afraid of? Who knows? Point. Okay. Let's switch over here. And we're going to talk about conservative groomers. right-wingers and conservative... Start that again. Right-wingers and conservative conspiracy theorists claim that they're in the hunt for groomers. However, they always seem to be looking for them in the wrong places. For example, they're looking for the groomers in hospitals, schools, and drag shows, or in Wayfair cabinets. But in reality, well, if you want to find the groomers, in a lot of cases, they happen to be right under their noses, or in their leadership. We have one example of just that. New court records reveal that a QAnon leader named Phil Godlewski had once got in trouble for grooming a teen girl when he was in his mid-20s. Because, of course. Now, before I get into the details, you ever wonder why all these people see groomers everywhere? Why it's in their heads so much? Because normal people don't have these thoughts in our heads. We don't think about this. We don't see, oh, groomers here, groomer over there, groomer over there. Are you a groomer? You're a groomer? I'm seeing groomers. Groomers everywhere. Why is it in their head so much? Why are they constantly thinking about groomers? Why are they thinking about pedophiles? Well, one explanation could be that some of them may have experienced, well, some, trauma in that case. Maybe they were preyed upon, and that's horrible. And now, if that happened to you, you're going to be traumatized. And you're going to see that trauma everywhere. Maybe. And I'm trying not to make a blanket statement on that. I'm just saying it is definitely possible that if you've suffered that kind of trauma, you might see it everywhere. Now, that's possible. But then there are others, like Godlewski, who cannot get that out of their heads because they themselves happen to be groomers themselves and project their desires onto everyone else. Again, I had never talked about or thought about groomers, people grooming kids, more than anyone, or more than, I've never thought about it more before the right wing had started talking about it. I never thought about it. Never crossed my head that, widespread grooming everywhere is grooming everywhere. No. Now, I had talked about, for example, other countries, child brides, things like that, and terrible cultures. There's an old video that I did about, I think it was like a African or Middle Eastern country that was doing, that was having child brides, and that was horrific. And I think, God damn, who would want to do something like that? And it turns out, members of the Republican Party. But anyway, now the issue here is, a lot of the QAnoners, they're convinced of some weirdo conspiracy, right? that it's Hollywood elites, and that it's people in the Democratic Party, that those are the groomers. Those are the groomers. And so they're going after people. Oh yeah, and the drag queens. The drag queens are the groomers too. LGBTQ folks. Those are the groomers. So they're going after people who are not actually grooming, which unfortunately takes the focus off the people who are actually grooming. With the exception of Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. Obviously, both are predators. Obviously, both are where they deserve to be. Funny enough, Trump wished Ghislaine Maxwell well, which I thought was very interesting. But anyway, let's jump into the details of Godlewski, right? Who apparently accidentally outed himself as a groomer for trying to sue a newspaper for defamation. Oops. According to the Daily Beast, Godlewski was arrested back in 2010 for corrupting a minor. His arrest record had disappeared from public view until 2021. When a reporter at the Pennsylvania Scranton Times-Tribune wrote a profile on this QAnon promoter that mentioned his conviction. So a journalist did journalism, looked up the past, and was like, oh man, this QAnon guy, turns out he got himself into some trouble going after a minor. That's interesting. I might want to put that down. Godlewski was furious about it, sued the newspaper, and that lawsuit prompted the release of even more details regarding his case, including lurid text messages and an unflattering picture of his genitalia. In 2008, 9 years before QAnon began, the 25-year-old Godlewski worked as a high school baseball coach in his school district outside of Scranton. That's where he met a 15-year-old female high school freshman referred to in court records as BD. Student's boyfriend had died by suicide soon after she met Godlewski, and the baseball coach had comforted her, and how, that led to other things happening. A few months later, with BD still 15 and Godlewski a decade her senior, they began to have a sexual relationship, according to police records and a sworn affidavit from Godlewski's victim that was filed in court in November. He apparently, according to the records, the police reports, showered his victim with gifts and letters. There was a letter written by her parents that filed into the defamation record that had showed that this had happened, including a $2,800 pair of diamond earrings. He also lavished her with attention in the form of text messages that laid out details, intimate details, of their sex life. Remember, she's a minor, with more than 300 messages in one day alone, according to police reports. He also allegedly provided BD with a log of his ongoing thoughts over several days, many of which centered on his struggles with their age difference. This is according to one of the messages. Realize that you're only 15, but quickly stopped caring. Why are we so compatible? I'm 10 years older than you. So, look, obviously at this point, he knew that he was doing wrong. I mean, he had known all along that he was doing wrong. But he continued to go for it. Couldn't help himself. He's a pedophile. That's who he is. And in 2010, he was caught and indicted on different charges related to this alleged relationship. In a recent affidavit, BD claims that Godlewski contacted her and begged her to recant the claims against him, threatening to Roblox himself if she didn't. Now, you know what that means. In response, according to her affidavit, she stopped cooperating with law enforcement in the case. Godlewski ultimately pleaded guilty to a lesser count of corruption of a minor, receiving only 3 months under house arrest. Gene, what a nice little slap on the wrist there that he gets. And then it just disappeared. And then he goes into QAnon. And look, he made quite a living off QAnon, which again, I remind you, is a movement that claims that it is Democrats and Hollywood elites that are like having, that are basically raping children and sacrificing them and drinking their blood. He now has more than 600,000 followers on Telegram and 156,000 subscribers on the YouTube alternative Rumble. Not only that, but he has peddled multi-level marketing schemes, selling silver to his fans and followers. So he's a pyramid scheme guy. And, well, it's been working out well for him because apparently there are no easier marks than QAnon people. You want to make a quick buck, apparently you become a QAnon guy because they'll fall for anything. Earlier this year, Godlewski used his QAnon earnings to buy a $1.7 million house. Working out very well for him. Now, the lawsuit against the paper claims that BD's mother was behind the criminal case against him because she wanted access to that money. And he called his victim a conniving schemer who had faked the messages. He also, by the way, getting back to raising money from his idiot followers, he raised $26,000 in crowdfunding in order to pay for the lawsuit. Again, these are right-wingers who apparently supposedly hate groomers, and yet the fans, they gave $26,000 to a person who was a literal groomer. Isn't it amazing? It's amazing. Again, they'll fall for anything. So now he sues the newspaper. His victim gets involved. In late October, BD contacted the newspaper's lawyers and offered to tell her side of the story in that sworn affidavit. And to her telling, Godlewski and the woman had continued to carry on an occasional relationship. Now remember, at this point, it should be noted that he had actually gotten married to someone else, but they kept on that relationship. In fact, according to one text, Godlewski texted her to express his condolences on her grandfather's passing and had alluded to their own relationship. He said in one message, "I had no idea your papa had died. I'm so sorry. I think we had sex in their bed, though." I mean, there's so many other gross things in the story that, something like this normally would pass. As in, like, oh, this is not one of those things that's, like, as gross, right? Oh, I mean, true, it's not as gross as everything else that he had done. But when you think about it, that's also really fucked up. Like, you're saying, oh, man, sorry your grandpa died. By the way, you remember when we had sex in his bed? What the fuck? What's wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Well, there's a lot wrong with him. So many things. Now, she responded, "We've probably had sex in like 40% of the homes in northeastern Pennsylvania." And that's, of course, an apparent allusion to Godlewski's alleged habit of, when she was still underage, of him using his second job as a real estate agent to access for sale houses for their get-togethers. So this guy would apparently, allegedly, go, take his underage, this teenager, into these houses that didn't belong to him, and then do a criminal act inside those houses. And disgusting isn't even the word. There's no word that's good enough for this guy, for how horrible this person is. Now, that same day, according to the paper's lawyers, Godlewski sent her a lewd image of himself. Imagine what that is. Both of those exchanges contradict sworn statements Godlewski filed as part of the lawsuit. He insisted that he had never had a sexual relationship with her, either when she was a teenager or as an adult. And then what also is notable is that he had never provided any text messages as part of discovery, claiming that he didn't have any, but she did. These text messages did not slip his mind, the newspaper's attorney wrote in November motion. He intentionally failed to disclose them in discovery for this lawsuit. By the way, he also slipped up and admitted sending text messages. In a November 26 video for his fans, he admitted, yeah, okay, I had drunkenly flirted with her over text message, but also with a dozen other women at the same time. And then claimed that he only did it because he was super drunk. In fact, he said he was so drunk that he would fall down intoxicated and then urinate on himself. Wow. What a paragon of good old godly conservatism. But again, that's the least of his problems. He is, after all, a convicted groomer. But it actually gets worse because now, in addition, he may be in even more trouble now than he was before. Other text messages exchanged between Beatty and Godlewski suggested that he wanted her to lie in his defamation case, according to the newspaper's attorneys. In May of 2022, Godlewski contacted Beatty again. In the text messages, he alluded to a financial windfall that he couldn't discuss in person that would require them both to work together. Here's the message. I think it might be fair to say that there's a very, very large and very, very unique financial opportunity that exists in front of you. Gee, I wonder if he used the same marketing pitch to sell his, silver pyramid scheme. He said also, by the way, of the newspaper, I don't trust those MFers, and I'm literally foaming at the mouth to take them down once and for all, according to court filings, Godlewski wrote. The newspaper's lawyers say these messages are proof that Godlewski wanted his victim, now an adult, to commit perjury, a crime, so that he could share the money that he was, I guess, thought that he was going to win if he had won a successful defamation suit. Oops. They're not the smartest people. Let me tell you. They're not very intelligent. Among all the other problems he has, not very smart at all. Oh yeah, what? Hey, I'm going to contact my victim here and, try to get her to perjure herself, and then we could share the money together. Idiot. Dumbass. But again, as I told you, people are not very smart. They wouldn't be QAnon. Now, the newspaper's motion read this. Not only did Philip Godlewski commit a sex crime against a 15-year-old girl in 2009 to 2010, he now solicited this same person to commit perjury in a court proceeding so he can enrich himself. Again, the dumbest people on the planet. Not very smart. They're not winning. They're not winning. So yeah. And by the way, it's again the height of irony here that the people who, again, groomed children are now claiming that they are the ones who are actually stopping the grooming by targeting people that aren't grooming. Bro, you couldn't even stop yourself from doing it. We've read those messages. You couldn't stop yourself. But as I mentioned before, it's all projection. The ones who are seeing pedophiles and groomers everywhere are usually the ones that are the most prone to being those very things. And that's what I continue to learn from all of the stories where, again, I'm not saying, people who are on the left can't be, but it seems like most of the groomers, most of the pedophiles have to be right wing. Okay. Anyway, with that, let's go to Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz is apparently not doing very well. Following his failed run for U.S. Senate in Pennsylvania, Oz is actually begging his producers to take him back and is not having much luck. So now, according to Radar Online, Oz has been desperately attempting to plot a television comeback after losing his race to Democratic rival John Fetterman. In fact, according to a source talking to Radar Online, no one in the mainstream will touch him. You can't just alienate half of your audience with a political stance and expect to bring in an audience on your return to television. Now, another source says he's beating the bushes to revive his health-oriented talk show and groveling to everyone who knows he knows to give him a break. But he's not making much progress. Let me just say, I immediately despise using the phrase beating the bushes. I think you probably know why. Okay. But anyway, really? Health-oriented talk show. What health? He used his platform to sell snake oil that benefited himself. But here's Oz saying, oh, please, let me back on daytime TV, please, so I can go and give people super questionable medical advice, which actually just makes me a ton of money. Why? Why would anyone do that? Again, we found out, thanks to his campaign, that he was up to some super questionable stuff, pretty shady stuff. For example, he ran a medical testing program that was responsible for the murder of puppies. He's a puppy killer. He also sold people, of course, on snake oil that didn't work. By the way, he was invested in the very same companies and didn't mention that on his show when he was hawking their products. Look, not only that, but you had him volunteering information. It's like, oh yeah, I drink pee in order to help diagnose people. What? You don't need to do. You don't need to do that. Plus, you have all these different gaffes that happened during his campaign, like the crudité. And the worst thing, of course, during that is, and you would think like the puppy killing is the worst, definitely. But one of the other worst ones, at least when it comes to politics, and supposedly being a doctor, a medical professional, is making fun of a stroke victim. I mean, honestly, you're supposed to be a medical person, right? And you're making fun of someone who had a medical condition. And yes, for a while, during his recovery, John Fetterman had difficulty understanding speech and being able to speak clearly. Now, he's back to normal. Again, 99% there, okay, on, his recovery. And he's doing pretty good. But for a while, again, you had to give him time to recover. And yet, here's Dr. Oz, supposed Dr. Oz, making fun of Fetterman. I mean, it's horrifying, disgusting, and it shows you who Oz really is. The only people who destroyed his reputation is him. In fact, an insider had claimed this. He can't even get a word with his former producer. Dr. Oz is a social creature who likes to hear himself talk, no kidding, and it's beginning to dawn on him that he's just not wanted in Hollywood circles anymore. Even Oprah turned her back on Oz. That said, it's not all bad for Oz. There's a small hope for him. Radar Online was told that Oz had apparently impressed executives at Fox News and Newsmax. However, they did say that no firm offers to be a regular contributor or even to get a show on those outlets had materialized. Now, sources said that Oz, wants his own show back, telling the outlet he wants a daily gig. But apparently, so far, that's not going to happen. He's expected to return to small roles as a contributor on those right-wing networks. Let me just say that this is probably the best thing that has ever happened to the wasteland that is daytime television. Which, again, quite horrible. Yes, daytime television is still garbage, but with Dr. Oz gone, there's a little bit less trash. I'll take it. Okay. Anyway. All right. Last story here. What conservatives claim was happening to them on Twitter is actually happening to the left now that Elon Musk has taken over the company. What I mean by that is censorship and banning of left-wing voices. According to The Intercept, anti-fascists, including organizers and journalists, have had their accounts suspended in the past week as a result of right-wingers petitioning Elon Musk to have their accounts removed. Now, one of them is Andy No. Andy No, as well as other, right-wing activists, as well as trolls, they decided that they were going to go and tell Daddy Musk to ban those accounts for fake TOS violations. Now, what did I tell you before? Far-right hates actual journalism. They hate being held accountable. They hate when people post things that they're actually saying. And so, of course, they have to get rid of them. Now, one of the suspended users happens to be Chad Loader. Chad Loader is someone who helped identify a masked Proud Boy who attacked police officers during January 6th. So his investigative work actually led to the arrest and conviction of a Proud Boy. Another account that was canceled, and that's what this is. This is cancel culture right here, is video journalist Vishal Pratap Singh, who reports on far-right protests in Southern California. That account has also been suspended. Among other prominent accounts, suspended were the Elm Fork John Brown Gun Club, which is an anti-fascist group that provides armed security for LGBTQ+ events in North Texas. Which, look, from the Club Q shooting, it's obvious that there are places that need this protection against mass shooters. And then you also have Crime Think, which is an anarchist collective that has published and distributed anarchist and anti-authoritarian magazines, books, posters, and podcasts since the mid-1990s. Now, I'm not an anarchist. I don't necessarily agree with the ideology, and not like 100%. But do they have the right to be on, this website? Of course they do. I mean, they haven't done anything wrong. They haven't broken TOS. They have more than they should be more than able to be on those platforms. And again, I don't even agree with having these armed groups doing LGBTQ security, right? But nonetheless, I guess apparently there's a need. But still, the reason that these accounts had been singled out is because of criticism from Andy No. Andy No is someone who has been busted numerous times lying and making things up, making up reports about left-wing protests. He's the one who's been spreading the delusional narrative that there is some sort of shadow Antifa army. Antifa, by the way, short for anti-fascist. We should all be anti-fascist. There shouldn't be pro-fascists in this country. But apparently, you can see Andy No seems to be pro-fascist. That said, in a public exchange on Twitter on Friday, Musk invited Andy No to report Antifa accounts that she should be suspended directly to him. And of course, when that happened, that's exactly what happened. Musk suspended them. So now that said, Twitter is Elon Musk's platform. He owns it. He can do whatever the hell he wants. He can suspend whoever. Okay. And I've said that before, by the way. See, that's something that I'm consistent about. Before the Musk takeover, I was like, yeah, look, if Twitter wants to get rid of you, they can get rid of you. It's our platform. They're not beholden to free speech because they're private corporations. Elon Musk, same thing. He can cancel and suspend anyone he wants. The thing about that is you can call him out for hypocrisy, because he claimed free speech for you, free speech for them, free speech for everyone, except for you, and you, and you, and you. That's how it apparently seems to work. Look, it's clear that his vision for free speech on his platform basically only extends to the things that he agrees with, people that he agrees with. Now, it's also important to note that these journalists and publications did not break the terms of service. The only crime that they had done was be supposedly Antifa, or whatever Andy No thinks is Antifa. In reality, this is personal for Andy No. As The Intercept reported last year, No had previously tried and failed to have Loader suspended from Twitter, and also joined a botched attempt to have a court order the researcher to stop tweeting about one of the Proud Boys who took part in the Capitol riot. So Andy No's protecting Proud Boys and Capitol rioters. Yeah. So, look, in a phone interview on Monday, Loader, a tech company founder and cybersecurity expert, told The Intercept that their account was initially suspended last week for about 90 minutes after Musk had replied to No on Twitter, showing that he had directly done that. After briefly regaining access to the account, Loader was then suspended again and accused by Twitter of having used an account to evade the ban. Loader said that they do have access to another dormant account, Masks for Docs, which was set up in early 2020 as part of an effort by a group of activists to donate N95 masks to doctors during the first month of the COVID-19 pandemic, but had not used it for ban evasion. However, No had pointed out, hey, look, that's Chad Loader's alt. Go get it, Elon. And that's exactly what happened. He said this: what I believe happened is that I and other accounts have been mass reported for the last few weeks by a dedicated group of far-right extremists who want to erase archived evidence of their past misdeeds and to neutralize our ability to expose them in the future. What I suspect happened is that Twitter's automatic systems flagged my account for some reason, and no human being is reviewing these. He's too kind. I think he's too kind. Look, Musk, look, Musk fired all the humans. Most of them, anyway. There's a content moderation team. What content moderation team? There's like one person left. But not only that, but there's a list of lefty accounts that are being passed around by right-wing activists as part of a campaign to deplatform those accounts by mass reporting them for fake violations. You know, it's brigading, essentially. And we've seen this happen before. It happens on all these different platforms, happens on YouTube, happens on Facebook, happens on Twitter. But usually, these accounts get reinstated once a human has time to look at them and know that they're mass reports. There's no humans left. And I don't think they're going to get reversed because, once again, this is somebody complaining directly to Elon Musk, who's been responding specifically to right-wing people who have been complaining to him. So, again, Loader, by the way, look, as I said, there was these this list going around. Now, I looked at this list. Loader shared screenshots with The Intercept showing Telegram channels with tens of thousands of followers passing around that list. Now, this includes QAnon adherents and Proud Boys having coordinated a spate of complaints against Loader's tweets, and once he had been suspended, had celebrated. Their plan had worked. They got him. They got him off the platform. Now, that just right there shows that everything that they claimed the left was doing, because remember, the biggest complaint from right-wingers is, your Twitter's left-wing, they're silencing conservative voices, they're censoring us, you know, just for being conservative. Well, what is this then? What is this? No, everything they claimed the left was doing, they're doing now. The right is actually doing. Loader says that Musk appears to be reworking content moderation to tilt the playing field in favor of far-right extremists. Twitter, he says, is turning into Gab with crypto scams. Yeah, I mean, you look at a lot of the verified accounts, and they're all either crypto bros or bots. That said, I do want to be fair, and Loader did call out criticism of Twitter pre-Musk takeover, because look, Twitter had a lot of problems before Musk. Now, the thing is, Elon Musk could have actually came in and fixed a lot of those problems, and Twitter would be great. It would be better than it was before. This was a pretty mismanaged company. Let's be honest about that. It's not because they were filled with left-wing SJW woke moralists. No, that's not why. It's just it was poorly managed. And it didn't make a lot of money. Then Musk came in, and again, he could have done something good with it. Instead, he's making it into basically a right-wing hellscape. Which it was bad before, now it's worse. And so, look, he said this, by the way, getting back to Chad Loader, and one of the issues that was happening pre-Musk. He said, I agreed that Twitter shouldn't have censored the Hunter Biden laptop story. We just don't want outright Nazis posting our home addresses. And that, you know what? Is it really that hard? Really? I mean, again, I've criticized Twitter before, and I've criticized some of their decisions. I do think Twitter had potential value in activism and journalism. It worked out right, but there was potential there. But now what Elon Musk is doing is basically taking orders from the far right. They don't believe in activism. They don't believe in journalism. What they do want to do is turn it into Gab. They want to turn it into another right-wing echo chamber. And it's all because of a man-child, Elon Musk, and his desire to be praised as the savior of mankind and the protector of free speech, which he is neither of those things. Elon Musk is a vulture capitalist. He's somebody who grew up with emerald mine money, and he bought out companies and basically took the credit for other people's success. That's it. He's somebody who, honestly, probably wakes up and smells his own farts. It's because he's been surrounded by yes men his entire life saying, oh yes, by the way, they smell great. Magnifique. No, this is the guy who's running Twitter. And it's only a matter of time until he runs it into the ground. I mean, either that or he actually hires somebody competent to run the company day by day. And if he was smart, that's exactly what he would do. Hire a CEO, step back, and just, collect the money. Instead, no, he's got to be out there tweeting and supposedly running the company himself. That's why it will fail. Anyway. There we go. I'm massively out of time. So let me just, again, thank you all here for joining me today. Drip Alert, thank you for resubbing for a month at Tier 1, for 6 months on Twitch. Thank you. As far as everybody else, please like and share the stream. Very important that you do so. Again, helps us out. I did not see any super chats on YouTube today. That is all right. All right. Let's raid into, let's figure out who is today. Yeah, let's just raid into Francesca Fiorentini. He's back. So we'll do that. Everybody else, once again, have a great day. Love you all. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. See you all later.
Who's got a hammer?
There's insanity in the control room.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I like my meat tight.
tighten up my knee.
Clean coal, meaning to take it out cold, they're going to clean it.
Truth, essential.
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.
We have to keep our country gay.